we're here live in Anthony's studio.
Hello, guys.
It's in the middle of finishing up, or I guess, are you finishing up, or is this?
I'm getting ready to finish up. I've been procrastinating on this piece for a while because I haven't made my mind. I had a vision for this piece, and I was going to change my vision, but I think I'm going to go back to my vision.
What was the vision?
The vision was I saw a image that I thought was an elephant with a red trunk at a gallery showroom I was in. I had a show at. And when I got up upon it, I found out, wow, it wasn't an elephant, it was a bag with a vase. So I'm like, wow. So I took a picture of it, and I said, man, I got to create this elephant since I envisioned this thing being an elephant. So I have a show that hopefully is going to happen somewhere down the line in Virginia, and I done a piece with the African cone, and the gallery wanted that piece. Well, that piece is in a different show at the Cultural Council in Lake Worth, in West Palm Beach.
Lake Worth.
Or Palm Beach County. And so I told her I didn't have the piece available. So I told her, I said, well, I do have an idea in my head of doing something. So I technically combined the two, my vision of the red trunk and the cone. Obviously, the other piece has no color, just black and white. So that's why I was having the problem of what should I really do? Should I stick with my vision, or should I kind of duplicate the one that I did at the piece that's in the Cultural Council? So I've been procrastinating. So with that said, I'm going back to my vision. I'm going to combine the two though. I'm going to do a little bit of both. So just to give you an idea, if you're looking at why it's so dirty, technically I have a film over it. So like this piece here, I want to keep it white. So I'm using the film to keep everything white. So all the outside part of this piece is basically covered with this film to keep the background protected from getting any charcoal on it, because I am using charcoal. And as for the trunk, I'm going to probably go with a little of everything. I'm going to do a little red, color pencil, pastel, watercolor, and even maybe a little bit of acrylic. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to fade it out here, super red in the middle. When I get down to the bottom here, I'm going to fade it into this here, and I'm probably going to do this mostly black towards the end of the pitch or the cone. And that's my vision. So I'm done procrastinating about it. I am going to try to finish this piece today. So again, I've been trying to give you a little bit of me every day. I skipped yesterday for some reason. I just wasn't in the mood to do any drawing, believe it or not. So I kind of skipped yesterday, so I'm back at it today. So right now I'm working on the eye part of here. So I did this eye a few days ago. I'm kind of happy with it, but I might go in and add some more darks and lights to that to give it a little bit more tone that is not flat. So that part is almost done. Just got to go in and do some little changes on it. So, and as for the trunk, the hoofs, what do we call those?
Tusks.
Tusks, excuse me. The tusks are probably going to be just white as well, as if it's a cutout part of the cone, because I did that on the original one, and I think I'm going to stick to the same process. So technically these will be just white, and I'm going to create, of course, a line to represent that it's round or towards the back. So that's something we're going to work on.
So the tusk has frisk on it too? Or is that?
Yes.
Oh.
This is the same stuff. So it's...
I thought that was shaded in myself.
No.
See, I live with you and didn't even know that.
Yeah, I have it covered. You know, it's kind of looking kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was shaded myself.
So I might change. I don't know.
Leave it white. Go with what you planned.
That's the end result.
It's kind of wild.
Part to that, so I'm not really concerned with that part yet. I can always go back and add some color to it or some some values to it and be done with it. But right now, I'm just going to work on this eye.
That's wild. You brought up a great point about cancellations of some of the things you had going on in the next couple of months. Literally, I guess the last 4 weeks, I guess.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? And are they canceled? Are they postponed? What's going on? Because I know there's a lot of people in the Virginia area that we did heavy promotion to, and they're still looking forward to you coming to Virginia. So do you have any information on that?
Well, I was told by the director of the gallery, actually it's a museum, it's actually not a gallery. Excuse me if I don't know the site location and everything. But if you do want to know the location, I can definitely send it to you if you inbox me. Right now, I spoke to the director and the coordinator of this show, which is Ramel, and they both are kind of like in limbo right now. They want the show to happen, but it is a gallery, and it is a scheduled gallery, so they got other shows that's supposed to happen behind our show that's basically have not been postponed yet because of things are not quite, at a boarding point of making some bigger decisions as for what they should do. So right now, it still might be on. Me personally, I am going to find my way to get out of my comfort zone. So I am going to find a way to somehow get me a show going on up there. But as you know, with all the artists right now, we're all going through a struggle financially. So it's hard to really say what I can do right now, because right now my important part is feeding my family, which is just my wife and I, but we do eat. So my goal is to make sure that we are comfortable here at home, and then it might put a little damper on my ideal or what I wanted to do from the start. But my goal is to try to do at least 3 major cities or states in the next, I say 8 to 9 months. Probably every quarter of the year, I'm trying to do at least one show. And so don't think that I'm not coming. I'm gonna come. I just don't know at this point when that will happen. So stay tuned.
So I know you mentioned the other day when you were working on The Mermaid, someone asked you, is this circumstance making it hard for you to want to create? What's your perspective on that?
I mean, I'm human. So of course it is affecting me. But believe it or not, only thing that's been affecting me is that this elephant is not where I want it to be. And so my focus is still on my art, to the point that I always tell people all the time, I don't really think that there will be a moment that I can say that I'm not going to create because of the circumstances surrounding me. I've been through some tough things in my life, as my wife probably mentioned a few times, I am diabetic. And man, that was a tough time in my life because I thought I was doing everything right. I mean, I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I do have a sweet tooth. I love my sweets. So I never thought that it would affect me, being diabetic. And I had to take my life a little more serious, and it did for a second, just for a second, because I actually was in the hospital for 4 days, and that was killing me because I brought my sketchbook with me, so I was sketching while I was in the hospital. But it's still, when I got home, I had a lot of concerns. I was worried about how we can afford this because I just literally got laid off from my job, which again I tell people that was a blessing for me because I am one of those workers, and I've probably been going through this illness and not paying attention to it enough to want that, me taking off from work or whatever. So I took the liberty of thinking that, God was giving me a sign, and it definitely was time for me to leave that job, but it was a different sign of, He's letting me know I'm shutting this down before you make it shut down the wrong way. So I literally use that as a path to get deeper into my art, a path to understand that this is what I was meant to be. This is what I was meant to do for a living, and that's it, pretty much. But as for any kind of things like this and anything else in my life, I don't think nothing will ever get to the point of me not being able to create. My hands will probably move when I don't think they're not moving.
Dina Becker says, elephants are her favorite. She loves your work.
Thank you.
Stay safe and healthy.
Same to you.
So you have quite a few people watching on your page.
Thank you, my people. Last time we did this, y'all was quiet. I didn't hear nothing from nobody. I didn't know if anybody was alive out there.
Well, you heard from one person who was asking about the coloring books. So that was something. I'm trying to remember some of the things I wanted to ask you. So we talked a little bit about the trip to Virginia. Then you had another trip to South Carolina, like literally a few weeks after that. Do you know what's the status of that?
Right now, I think that one is again postponed for the second. That was a competition show that I got accepted in. My first competition show outside of Florida, because I normally don't enter too many shows outside of Florida, because I got so much going on here with our projects that we work on. So I reached out, or I should say my wife did the application for me. So I was able to get accepted for that show, and I was really gung-ho for doing this here, because I'm like, wow, 2 shows back-to-back outside the state. That's new for me. And all of that got, put on hold. Hopefully, it's just a hold that's going to get, open up again very soon. We can't allow this, what's going on, defeat us, but I know how important it is for us to all get serious about this here. Especially my Florida people. Guys, y'all, I know y'all love the beach and all, but they telling y'all to stay away from the water for a little while. Big groups are not good, and I'm watching big groups happening. And it's really needed to be addressed deeper. I don't want nobody to be getting in no trouble with the law and nothing like that. I don't think it should ever get to that point. But at some point, you got to use your common sense that, people like myself who has diabetes and, not old. I mean, I'm in my 50s, so I don't consider myself at a point of, at the age that I got to be too concerned. But I do have something that can get affected by this disease, or virus, excuse me. And I'm not ready to go yet. And I don't need to run into someone that has been out there playing around, having fun, and not taking it serious, make me ill.
Right. And it's interesting you said that, because, we have our barber who he's doing kind of pop-ups in his space when it's slow, which is really convenient, because normally people don't go on Sundays. But I had to really, and I was tempted. I was like, did you get the text? He's in his shop. Maybe we should go. But I was thinking, as time went on of the day, probably more people will end up in there.
And this is why we need it. This stuff is getting long.
Yeah. Yeah, we look pretty rough. And so like going in and out of a store quickly is one thing, but sitting and waiting to get taken care of for, something as simple as getting a haircut. My concern was for Anthony to sit in the space for a long period of time and people coming in and out of the space. So obviously we made the decision not to do it. So our barber reached out to us, and we're going to try to make it work where it's convenient for Anthony, because again, though he's not of that age, it's more about pre-existing conditions. And you guys, and I'm watching people not really taking this seriously. Not just the folks on the beach, but just kind of like wandering around and hanging out in groups. I'm not gonna name one of my favorite R&B artists, but I follow him on social media, and he just had a big event like 2 nights ago, and it's in New York, and I was really surprised. So it's real. I'm saying to people, just be cautious. I mean,
Consider it.
Yeah, consider that there are other people who are being affected by this. Just because you don't know people directly. I have another alumnus who's been ill, and they're not sure if that's what's wrong, so they had to go and get checked. I have another friend who's an educator at a school in New York, and they found out that one of the students had it. So, they closed their school early before this all the schools were even closed. So this is, saying, don't assume based on what you hear that kids can't get it, young adults can't get it. They may not get it as an extreme as an older person, but they still can get it. And they can pass it on to someone who's more susceptible to getting very sick.
Like me.
Exactly. So like Anthony looks healthy now, right? But you just never know. It could be the wrong person that comes in contact because they weren't cautious. Like today we went together into the store. I wore gloves and I handled a lot of the materials, so he didn't have to touch most of that stuff. So you got to think about those things. Wipe your surfaces down, all those things. And I know you're probably like, you're preaching to the choir. We know. But what's interesting is we knew about being clean before. We knew you had to wash your hands. But for some reason, I guess we just kind of took it for granted. Now we're like singing happy birthday to ourselves twice to make sure we wash our hands for a long enough time. And I laugh about it, but it's something that we should have been doing anyway. And now we're being asked to be considerate of those folks out there who are more susceptible to these types of situations, such as what we're in now. So, I'm actually working on a site right now to get content out to people, especially exclusively to patrons. What do you say to artists that feel like they're stuck? They don't think that they're going to be able to get anywhere because of this situation. What can they do to stay motivated?
Do what I'm doing right now. You need to keep focused. You need to not be concerned about things that you don't have any control over. It's scary right now. And I know financially wise, again, we're getting hit hard. We're almost like the teachers, who basically their year's been shut down completely for most states. So they're going to jump into summertime. So they're done for the rest of the year. So we are in the same boat because a lot of us teach. I teach art at a few different locations. I do private lessons as well. So all my private lessons have been canceled, of course. All of my workshops that I just put together just got up and running. Wow, it's like I just literally just started doing adult classes because I normally work with kids. And I finally got a following, and I had ladies, my little ladies, they come anytime I put a workshop together, they was there. And this was actually been my third one. And they literally put it together. They're like, you got to do more workshops. Thank you to Alexis at Easel Art. She pushed me along too to develop this class. So I just want everyone to understand that, especially the art. I'm talking to the artists right now. Guys, get in that studio, guys. Create that art. Think about some smaller things that you can create that you can sell in a pinch, or you can give to someone who's basically, going through something that needs something to uplift them. And art is definitely an uplifter, and you should be that vessel for them. So I'm not telling you to give your art away. But create some things that you have no problem letting go, even if they just give you a donation. I'm actually getting ready to do. I did some at the beginning of the year. I didn't kind of forget about it, but I guess it was meant for me to hold off. I put out a call that I wanted 10 people. Well, I didn't finish it because I didn't get my 10, believe it or not. I wanted 10 people to send me their information so I could send them something. So my goal was to send out maybe a couple coloring books, a few older pieces that I basically, haven't looked at in a while and this just need a new home, or just do some quick drawings and just to uplift people. I did something last year in October for breast cancer month. I put a call out to anyone that was going through pain or needs a uplifting, that was going through breast cancer, and not just them, but their moms and dads, sisters and brothers and cousins. They're really struggling with them. They might not be going through their pain or their worries, but they need something to uplift them. So I created 10. Was it 10?
I think it was more than that.
It was more than that.
I think you got up to 14 or 12 or 14
So
pieces.
I was sending these pieces out to people. I was mailing them for free. I didn't even ask for them to give me money for shipping. And I did get a response to about maybe 3 of them. Sadly, one of them passed away. But she did tell me thank you for giving her something to look forward to. And that touched me really, really, really hard. So back to the point of why we are here as artists. We're here more than just to sell our piece of artwork. We're here more than just to get a pat on the back or boast about how good we are. We're here for a purpose, and our purpose is to uplift people. Our purpose is here to make sure that we use our gift for the good. We know we got a lot of artists that got serious egos. I got an ego too sometimes. I can't sit here and lie that if someone says something negative towards my art, that it doesn't affect me. But as I've gotten older, I learned how to handle it in a different light. I take the good with the bad. And if I feel that you're being inappropriate or just downright rude, I just delete you. I don't let you be a part of the problem. Part of how my life should be as an artist. So, with that said, guys, go out, continue creating your art. Get on your porch, go in your studio. If you can find a quiet space towards a lake or somewhere that you're by yourself, sit a chair up, put some music in your ears, and create, guys. Everything's gonna be all right.
They say this too should pass.
Yes, definitely.
One of the things that I've been encouraging people, and this was actually inspired because a friend of ours, Najee Dorsey, had reached out to me about some business stuff, and then Anthony asked him a few questions, and Najee had mentioned Patreon. So those of you who don't know what that is, you probably have heard of it when you're watching like a YouTuber talking about something, and at the end or during they'll do like a promotion. Go to my Patreon account and look me up under this, and please support what I'm doing. And what it actually is an opportunity for creatives to acquire patrons, something that we talk a lot about. So patrons are a group of people or an individual who basically support creatives specifically for what they do. They're not necessarily looking for advertising opportunities like a sponsor would, or a shout out. They specifically are there to support the creatives in their venture. So our company decided, we're going to do that. So I've already started putting content up, and the cool thing about this is that you can link it to your websites. You can offer exclusive things to people who are supporting you. So it's kind of like the patrons don't expect things, but as a gift and a thank you to them, we are providing them exclusive content, little gifts, something as small as a thank you or a little sticker or something more elaborate as an exclusive opportunity to attend an event that we are part of. So it could be a number of different things that you can provide your patrons. So I started putting up a lot of content that is actually public. So you can go to our ATB Fine Art Group Inc. Patreon, and you'll see a lot of content that is public. You don't necessarily have to be a patron to see the information. But I'm starting to embed information that is exclusive to our patrons and our tiered individuals. So things like classes, like Anthony mentioned, a lot of us have lost our classes that we're teaching. So I embedded a few of those for our tiered patrons who have students, children, adults that want to take either one-on-one classes or like what Anthony is doing here. I would probably set up the tripod and have him do an hour tutorial about the process of him creating. And that would be exclusive to people who want to be part of that. It wouldn't necessarily be open. You know, we do these Facebook Lives for you guys publicly, you know, so everybody can see it. But we want to also create content that's exclusive to make our supporters feel a lot more important and respected and appreciated. So those of you, and I see a lot of creatives on mine, so I'm going to say hey to the people on my page. Hey Ryan, hey Regina, hey Alex, Patty, Scott, Gabriella, Tina, Bito, Maria, Quincy, and Jeannie. A lot of you guys in this group are some kind of creative, whether you are somebody that does documentaries. I know a few of you are singers. A few of you are in visual art. Many of you are multidisciplined. That's something, if you have not considered getting on that site, now with the free time, think about some of the things you can offer your community of people who want to support you in a bigger way. And these are not necessarily a situation like our nonprofit where we do fundraising through crowdfunding. This is something totally different. It's a patron. Instead of them just flat out writing a check for you, they're actually getting something, a little bit of something in return from you for supporting you. So Anthony, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff for ATB under his Anthony Burks collection brand. And then we'll be doing some things under the Ethnic Mermaid brand. And then we'll be doing stuff that's through our company. One of the first things we're going to be doing, if you noticed, is actually won't start through Patreon. I'm hosting a So You Want to Be a Curator workshop. So I was supposed to host it here out and about at one of our locations. So I was able to make it way more affordable. And I actually am offering also a buy one, get one. And when I say curator doesn't only curate art shows. They curate events, situations, programming. So this is something that quite a few people have asked me to do. And one of the things that's interesting about us being in the circumstance that we're in, I can now be able to offer them affordably, as opposed to when I do them out and about, I gotta, consider a venue. I gotta get food. This way, you're in the luxury of your home, and all you're paying for literally is the information. And so we'll be doing that, and it's gonna be exclusive. It will be on Facebook Live in a private group. The people that paid for it will have 48 hours to be able to obtain that content. And then the only way you will be able to get that content after, you will have to go to our Patreon to retrieve it. So it's an interesting way for people to get information. And if I don't sell any tickets out and about, that's fine, because I'm still going to have it out there. But after the 48 hours, it's going to be on Patreon, and that's how you'll access it. But I have a talk on there for patrons about Anthony's brand, which is really interesting because I actually found that content. I hadn't used this network that I've been using for podcasting. I'm starting to get back into that. So that's an interesting concept because everything that I said, and it was done 3 years ago, is literally right into what he's doing now. The only difference is he's established so much more since then, but the basic information is all relevant to now. So if you want to hear that information, go to our Patreon, become a patron, and learn a little bit more about Anthony Burks' collection and his brand. I mean, you see it every day, but, you know, you learn the backstories about it. So, do you find, let's go into your technique for a second. What do you appreciate doing more? Do you like working in charcoal or do you like color pencil better? Do you like the mixed media approach?
I'm beginning to like the mixed media more now. Color pencil will always be my heart and my soul of my pieces because it always literally, I won't say it's controlling anymore. Adding a little bit more watercolor. As you can see now, working with pastel right now. Charcoal. It's a little bit easier for me to spread and create faster. As for my color pencils, take a little more time and patience. Here I can just have fun with it and not let it beat me up if it's not perfect.
Do you find it easy to work with?
The pastels?
Yes.
Charcoal?
Charcoal and pastels.
Yeah. I never would put myself I call it the masters. I would never put myself in that category yet because I do change things up and do it my way. You know, I do a lot of things that most artists probably will not do using this technique. But I enjoy it.
That's an interesting word you use, master. Do you feel that you are a master in anything that you do as of now?
Yes, I really consider myself a master color pencil artist. I had been doing it since the 9th grade, and I'm now 50, so it's been a long time. So yes, I think that there's no more that I personally can learn from doing the color pencil. I have not got into some of they have the new things now, which I don't go too new. I like what I do with my pencils already. They have the watercolor versions now and all that, but I have a technique of blending, which people have took my blending as paint. So,
mistaken it for
yes.
paint? And also airbrush.
Since high school. I always tell the story that I did a show in high school. We did a lot of tournaments in high school, believe it or not. It was home like football. We had these different tournaments and we had to go against all the big schools, in competition-wise. And I got rejected once because the judge thought that my color pencil was paint and it was in the wrong category. So when the awards got handed out, I got very good looks and, the ego thing too when I was young. It's the winning world. I should not get a prize or a gift or whatever for my, technique. And to get at the end that my work was disqualified, I was very angry and I did something silly that I always never tell. I taught my kids is when they was in sports. Don't lose your temper and show your ass. I was a very quiet person, but I showed my ass that day. I literally took my work off the wall. That's how angry I was that my work got disqualified and no one can do anything about it because the show was over. The awards already been given out. I was left out, and the only thing they told me is that if your work was in the right category, you would have basically got an award. And for me not to get that was heartbreaking for me. So I acted like a little brat, and I took my work off the wall and put it in the car. And I don't remember what my mom said to me because I was so angry. I don't think no one could have spoke to me at that time. Speak to me. So again, you just got to hold your temper back sometimes and your ego.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, I remember someone told me, "Oh, I love your husband's airbrush." I was like, "He doesn't airbrush." And what's funny is when people tell you something that you already know, like, he's my husband, I know what he does. It was like, no, it's airbrush. I'm like, it's not airbrush. That's all color pencil. And this is back in the day when literally his backgrounds and everything, maybe, at some point I'll show you some of the other stuff he has done in the past. All his background was all blended in color pencil. And people swore it was airbrush. So yeah, I could say, like, one of the things we're trying to do with the nonprofit is getting artists to see that they're truly masters. And I've been teaching even my own children for years that people need to understand, just because someone's a master doesn't mean that they're perfect. So like a lot of what we were taught in school about all these, famous dead artists, they were worshipped. But if you look at some of their techniques, they were developing the techniques. So there were a lot of flaws. And I remember taking my sons to specifically the Norton Museum, and I was like, okay, we're in the room where they had all these high-end masterpieces. And I said, okay, I need you to pick 10 flaws or mistakes. And they both looked at me, and I think at the time Raymond might have been 10 and AJ was like 13, and they're looking at me, but Mommy, these are masters. There's not going to be any mistakes. I said, why wouldn't there be any mistakes? These weren't robots that created these. These were human beings. So I want you to each pick out 10 mistakes, and then when we have lunch in their area, their little restaurant, we're going to talk about it. So they started finding them. And literally, we started the conversation before we hit lunch. They were showing, see, this is this way. Perspective is off here. Looks like they didn't have enough paint, and they started to mix the paint, and the colors don't match. They started finding all these things. And what I'm telling people to understand is that even though you're working with the master, Anthony knows if he makes a mistake. I know a lot of people. I had instructors who were ideal masters in their craft, but they own that they're not perfect. And we got to start remembering we are human first. And it's kind of a lesson to be taught, because like what we're going through right now, people are getting frustrated. Why aren't they coming up with, these things to get rid of this virus? Why didn't it catch the virus sooner? How did it get here? We're still dealing with human people. We're dealing with humans. And though I would love for this to be over quickly, I want it to be done right. Yes. I want it to be done correctly. I don't want people being injected with a bunch of things that are not going to help them. It'll just make them worse or cause another problem. So you gotta, this is the opportunity to learn patience. Those people who I know that went through 9/11, I gotta tell you, those people, and I know a lot of first responders. I have friends who were cops and firefighters and worked down at the World Trade Center. And I gotta tell you, patience was a virtue. Their whole city was pretty much shut down. My father was still alive then. And I remember it was just hard to get through to have a conversation with him on the phone. If there was anything that taught us how to be patient, that was a situation there. This is a health crisis, guys. You cannot play with your health. So in the meantime, those of you who are normally like, I'll give you an example. Right now, Subculture Group has a couple of their restaurants giving out food to people who work in the food service industry and to the elderly and some people who are at risk, let's just say. So yesterday it was specifically for the food service industry people. Could have been working for any restaurant anywhere. And if they needed a meal, they were giving out food. So I had a friend today who I had shared that because I knew today they were going to be opened up for more like the at-risk community. So you can drive by and pick up a bag of their hot food. And this particular person asked me, how can I volunteer? And normally that's an easy question. Normally I could just say, just go over there and help them. I had to really think about that because right now the staff that's there is the staff that they're familiar with. They don't want a whole lot of additional people possibly being there who can be, and I'm not saying this person is sick, but they're not going to take that risk because, again, this is food we're talking about. So, and I think she thought about it too as we were going back and forth on the page. That, I know there are other ways you can help. I don't know if volunteering on site is the answer right now. And that's the hard part for people. Some people are just used to being doers, getting up out of your bed, going to a location and getting your hands dirty and doing what it takes to be done. We have doers all the time when we do our events at Continuum, at the Diaspora, people to help us hang work, people who help us, get food for the group that's there. But this is a different type of situation. This is a situation where we have to be a lot more creative about how we support each other. So how can you support the creatives? If you know of someone who is a musician, who is a poet, who is a visual artist, and you know that there are people, because there are still people in our world who can afford to fiscally support others, why don't you reach out to those folks and say, look, I know that you're into poetry. I have a friend who has a poetry book. Won't you take, a little bit of your money and purchase a book on Amazon? That little bit of money can help them. Or I know a visual artist that is trying to get work done for a show, and right now they don't have money coming in. Could you be a patron to that person? Anthony raised his hand. Anthony's an example of that, but we know several artists that's an example. The coordinator of the event he was going to be part of, Ramel Jasir. He's an artist right up there in Palm Bay. And could use support. You know what I mean? Think about these people that you network with on a daily basis. How can you support them? We also, one of the things you guys know, we started a nonprofit called the No More Starving Artists Foundation. It's on its second year. The end of last year, we established a emergency fund. We opened up emergency fund. We didn't establish it yet because we have enough money to sustain it, but we do not have the funds in there to start helping artists. So what we've been doing right now is asking people who can afford to support our campaign online through GiveGab. Any money, so you see there's an amount there. That amount was for something specific that's being used towards something. Any money after that, which was going to be going to the micro grants, is going to be going into the emergency fund right now because this is an emergency. So what we're doing for our artists right now is we're giving them links to other grants around the country where they can get fiscal support while they're on downtime. A lot of us, Craig McGinnis is an example. He has mural projects that are put on hold. He teaches classes. There's quite a few artists in our community who are in limbo. So if you know an artist that is in limbo, a musician, like I said, a visual artist, a muralist, find out how you can support them. Send information to people you know that are capable of supporting them. The libraries are closed, the museums are closed. This is hitting everything. I was just telling Anthony, right now Broadway is closed, but a lot of those actors, the Broadway actors are probably fiscally okay, but the ones that are not doing okay are the off-Broadway actors. where they weren't making a whole lot of money to begin with. But I had told Anthony, I said, you know what's going to really take a hit in theater? The movie theaters. Because right now we're streaming everything anyway. So they already are getting hit. And now they're getting hit hard because where they made their money in was concession and ticket sales. So that's not happening right now. So think about that. You know, because again, this is temporary. This too shall pass. But think about all those other people and what's going on with them. All the food service people, all the chefs. I mean, there's so many elements that are getting hit right now. So be diligent, be smart, but be considerate and think about those things. If it makes sense. Does that make sense, Anthony?
Yes, it does.
Any final words before I sign out? I'm going to sign out on my phone.
I need to pitch my product.
Yes. So let's see what you're pitching.
Again, for my affordable stuff, I have my coloring books. Right now I have 3 volumes. I got volume 1, volume 3, and volume 4. And again, I'm going to do a little dealing today. If you buy all 3, they're $10 a piece. If you buy them individually, they're $15 a piece. If you got someone out there that's in need of some uplifting, please inbox me. I will gladly put one on the porch for you can come by here and pick it up. Because I have no problem giving back to the community. And I've been posting online a lot too that help me help you. Because any funds that I do get, I'm going to make sure I go out there and, like Trina was saying, help out someone's in need. You know, some other artist that's in desperate need of, you know, feeding themselves or definite need of paying their rent. I mean, I'm gonna do my best to give back as much as I get. So I have my coloring books. If you go on my website, I have all my links to all my different other products. I do still have a handful of t-shirts, mermaid t-shirts, and I still have a handful of scarves that I sell. So I have many small items, and if you are in the area and you see something on my website and you do not want me to communicate with you by touching or whatever, I would set up a little stage outside with those pieces where you can drive by, look at it, fall in love with it, and hopefully send me your credit card information for you to purchase. So don't hesitate. I got all different forms of ways that you can support me, support my art. And artists out there, post your small items, guys. You know, do some small items. I have my cigarette boxes that I sell. You know, you can go online, go to Pinterest. Pinterest has all of my images. Excuse me. That you can look at, from my big pieces to my small pieces.
I can't see you here.
I've been all this time. You been showing nobody.
You've been showing me, but you haven't shown.
Girl.
I didn't realize you were that far back.
So, back to where I was saying, I have coloring books, guys. So, if you are interested in purchasing a coloring book, again, I have 3 volumes left. I sold out number 2. I got 1, 3, and 4. I am doing a special today. You buy all 3, they're $10 each. If you buy 1, they're $15 each. So, please support your locals right now, because they need your help. And my out-of-town people, you can always email me, text me, and I'll get your product to you as well. And that's it.
That's it. And don't forget, he said, if there's like somebody you know that really needs, you know, emotional support, and, you know, it's not about money for them, it's just you want to help them out in some way to cheer them up, you know, he's open to giving away a coloring book for them to do something. Interesting enough, he's been getting a lot of hits in his Instagram DMs of people have purchased the coloring books and coloring them and just sending.
Yeah, sending them That's beautiful. I've been seeing a lot of people sharing their coloring book night, which is cool. It's good to see how people take something I create and do their own little spin to it. That's a beautiful thing.
All right, so we're gonna sign out. Let him finish. We're gonna talk to you guys later. Don't forget, creatives, think about setting up a Patreon account. So it's Patreon, almost like patron, but it has an E in it, .com. Talk to you all soon. Bye.